Well, let's talk about just the concept of angels and the concept of the six in Baltar. Because when I first started watching the show and you saw the six in Baltar's head, I thought it was some, latent program memory, perhaps him going mad. And the more you realize that she was tangible, she actually showed up on the ship at one point and created influence on the ship, and everyone else could touch her and interact with her. And it raised the whole question as to what exactly is she? What is she to him in his mind, and what purpose does she serve, and how does that even function? That was the one thing that all right? But that was the one thing that I actually asked you when we met was, when you guys wrap this whole thing up, are you going to explain what the six in Baltar's head was? And you were like, oh, wait, I got something better. And then all of a sudden, a Baltar showed up in the six's head in flashback, and you see him leading her through all these situations. I was like, what is going on here? So I mean, let's talk about that for a second. If we accept that, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that Kara Thrace is an angel and she's not just hiding in the grass.
Debatable.
They all get that.
Not just hiding.
Jane Espenson.
Was it like a?
She could be hiding in the grass. It was fairly tall.
It was
grass.
It was very tall. See, we thought the same thing.
It would be the kind of thing she would do.
But let's accept for the fact, because when you cut to present day New York, and Six and Baltar are there, and they're discussing about what God likes to be called. Let's discuss for a second how you see them as in the context of angels, and what their purpose was as far as guiding these characters through their experiences. Well, I'm just curious about that, because Kara's constantly, she's told that she is the harbinger of doom, harbinger of death for the human race. Well, she
says that the prophecy is she will bring humanity to its end. And she did. She brought them to the original Earth, and the end of that, and the destruction of that, and potentially to the end of everything. So she sort of fulfilled that part of what her destiny was supposed to be. I think that overall, my thinking on the six front, in terms of head six and who she was, the original idea was not to know whether she was a chip in his head or she was a hallucination of his subconscious. In the first year of the show, I was really invested in the idea that she was a manifestation of Baltar's subconscious, that he was essentially driven mad by the guilt of what he had done, by participating in the genocide of his entire people, that she was essentially his own voice speaking to him. But even as I said that, I was working in sort of plot lines along the course of the first season that sort of suggested that there was something else happening. And as time went on, and as we got into the third act of the show, I started to come around to the idea that she couldn't just be a manifestation of a man gone mad, that she had to be something more, that there was some other presence, some other force, something else at work in the show that had to be justified and had to be validated. Else, what was all that about anyway?
Well, because she applied influence in so many situations that was undebatable. Like it was actually helping.
There were things
service
that she knew or said that could not have been explained by a rational means.
Well, not to mention episode 7, 6 Degrees of Separation, in which she appears literally and physically, and everyone else can see her, and Baltar is forced to deal with the fact that
that actually is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but just in the concept of angels and a God's hand or a divine force's hand in all of these events, it would seem that these angels can take any shape, can choose to be tangible, and then there's others that are faced, if I may, with the burden of living a life as human. The same way that the Cylons were kind of rebirthed as human beings and forced to live that life through their own experience. Kara has no idea what she is, and she's haunted by that. So she's fearless in each one of these situations, the perfect pilot, the perfect war machine, and yet can't ever get close to anybody.
Well, there was an expression we used in the writer's room over and over again. We would talk about the hybrid, which was the being that the Cylons used that sort of lived in the bathtub and sort of, babbled craziness and as she controlled the Cylon base ships. And we always talked about the idea that the hybrid sort of could look into a level of existence above our own, and just the mere fact of sort of rising through the surface of that water and seeing something greater drove her mad, and that she couldn't really explain it to us in any rational terms. And so there was a sense of there being something else that human beings could sort of perceive on certain levels and not understand. And that we in Galactica were going to see sort of small shafts of light that came down from this other plane, and we would see them and experience them imperfectly and never be able to truly understand what that was all about. And the more that I thought that we reached toward a definitive explanation of, okay, she's an angel, she's a demon, she's a this, she's a that, the less interesting it became. And it was all about the mystery.
Didactic, yeah.
Well, there's always that philosophy that if advanced civilizations were to visit a prehistoric culture, that they would appear as gods to them. You know, the same way when the crew of the fleet, when everyone from the fleet in Galactica arrive on Earth, and they reach pre-verbal humans, you know, is this kind of a contextual explanation for what we on Earth know as, you know, the Mayan temples or the Egyptian pyramids, things like that?
Our own god myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like that science fiction is open to interpretation, and that the answers aren't all nailed down, and that maybe what we called angels in the show are just some civilization that's so far beyond ours that that's the only way we can think of them.